Shalom. And let's start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Harakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone. Salutations to all for that's pushing this truth across four corners of the earth and all faith, truth, and sincerity. This I'm a wanna bod back again sitting. This we're going to real quick. Hallelujah, YAHAWASHI, Yahushai, is going to deliver his elect. Those that are of that part of those that is of that righteous number, part of that righteous number, of the 144,000. 1/3 of Israel, or the elect of Israelites. Which are the so-called Negro, Latino natives, which are the Israelites. Hopefully I'm part righteous number, and those that believe in YAHAWASHI, hopefully be of that righteous number, because, that's who YAHAWASHI is going to have mercy and deliver, in these times going forward, is the elect of Israelites. But the rest of Israel, 2/3 is not gonna have mercy by Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, in these times, and so, the times that are in now and going forward, these wicked Edomite devils, they finna come down, hard with great wrath, and they ain't, they ain't gonna hold back, right? Because like I said, their time is short, their time of rule is short, coming to an end. They finna come at you, so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites, and you already kind of seeing that now with a lot of stuff going on, man, with these Edomites, what they doing to Jake right now. Like I said, everything ain't gonna be, put out there in the media, but if you can catch some things that happening, or hear about some things that's happening around you, some things might be put out there, on TikTok, TikTok or whatever, alternative media, but if you could catch it, but like I say, everything is not gonna be put out there, what these so-called white people, red Edomite devils, are doing to so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites. Now going forward, it's gonna get worse and worse now. It's gonna get worse than what it is right now. For Israel, 2/3 Israelites, that Lord Yahushua is not going to have mercy on in these times and going forward, not going to deliver out of the hands of these wicked Edomite devils, man. So I'm getting to it. Psalms 141, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Lord Yahweh, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. So the house, so David, right? So the house, so the house of David, David, Yahushua came through, David, Solomon, excuse me, David, Solomon, Solomon came through David, excuse me, but Yahushua, came through, came from the house, the house is the house of David, from the house of the tribe, Judah, so, but I ain't finna get to, much of that, if you understand reincarnation, you'll know that, Yahushua was Solomon, but, like I said, you got the house of David, right? Those that of the house of David, that Lord Yahushua, is gonna have mercy. The elect, of Israelites, that's of of that house of David, the 144,000, the 1/3, the elect. Yahushua is gonna deliver. Yahushua is gonna deliver, the elect, and have mercy on the elect in these times, and be preserved from these so-called white Edomite devils. excuse me. Be preserved and delivered, protected from these wicked Edomite devils, these so-called white people, red Edomite devils, man. From there, you know, wicked plans or whatever it may be, right? Trying to come and do something to you, whatever it may be, right? Because like I said, these so-called white people, red Edomite devils, are just, they ruthless, man. They don't care, man. They're gonna come down, like I say, with no mercy, But like I say, Yahawashi's gonna have mercy, upon his elect and deliver his elect of these so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites from this violent, wicked devil, man. Hopefully I'm part of righteous number, but I'll go to the next verse. Psalm 142, which imagine mischief in their heart, continually are they gathered together for war. So these Edomite devils, they imagine mischief, man. They always, trying to plot and planning, and when you go to the word right there, heart, in the Hebrew word is lab, which means your mind. So in their mind, they always, they planning these wicked plans and so forth, plotting, to try to, come at you, come at, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites, how they gonna, with they unrighteous decrees, they pass these unrighteous decrees so they can have a excuse or whatever to come after you or do whatever they want to do. Take away your rights, which they are doing. They want to take away your rights, man. You so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelite, they don't want you to have no type of, protection, right? Like I said, these wicked Edomite devils, they ain't gonna show no mercy, man. In these times now going forward, Like I said, the only one that's gonna have mercy is Yahawah Bahashim Yahawashi. Excuse me, Yahawah Bahashim Yahawashi. Yahawashi is gonna have mercy on the elect. The elect, of Israelites. I say because these Edomite devils are ruthless, man. They nasty. They ain't gonna show no mercy, man. They don't care. They're not gonna care, man. That's why you're gonna hear. That's why I say, we're gonna hear a lot more of so-called Negro, Latino, and Israelites, getting done wrong, or getting, gunned down in the streets, or even hearing about more hangings, or so forth, man. It's like I said, these Edomite devils, so-called white people, red Edomite devils, are finna get real bold out here, man. Like I said, that that hatred in them is gonna activate, like I said, that hate that was dormant inside them is gonna activate and be shown more and more. It's being shown now, but it's gonna be shown more and more. It's gonna say, this is your enemy. You so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites, the so-called white man, the red devil, Edomite, is your enemy, man. Y'all better wake up. Y'all better know, who you around. You trying to be buddy with these so-called white people, red Edomite devils, but in their mind, like, they're reading the scripture right here, they want to make war with you. They want to take you down. They want to get rid of you. They hate you for what you have, the blessing. You're blessed by the Most High. Yahawah Bahashim Yahawashi. Because you have the favor of the Lord or the Most High Yahawah Bahashim Yahawashi, right? Yahweh, Son Yahawashi. So you have favor. You so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites. You have. You just better than these so-called white people, Esau, Edomite devils, right? Physically. Everything, right? Down to everything, they basically, right? You just better than these Edomites, and they hate that. These so-called white people, red Edomite devils hate, that, you have, these gifts and blessings from the Most High Yahweh, Bahashim Yahawashi, but and they don't have no replace. These so-called white people, Esau Edomite devils, they don't have no place of repentance either. they can't be forgiven and for their sins. You know, because their future is nothing but hardcore slavery, and then after 1,000 years of slavery, they're gonna be done away with. The nation Edom gonna be done away with, man. But like I said, these Edomite devils, man. Hey man, we in those times, hey, they're gonna show their real true colors more and more. And you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites, y'all still cooning, buffooning, and still want to be buddy with these so-called white people, red Edomite devils. They're gonna turn their back on you. And like I say, you have those that have that could they look. Excuse me. You have those that they'll look like other nations, like they'll look like a Moabite, a Chinese, or so-called white red Edomite devil, but they might have those features, but they could be an Israelite. So you gotta be careful with that. You gotta have discernment. Being spiritual, be spiritual, have discernment. And with that, but you just gotta be careful. Out here, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites. Israelites. Like be mindful who you dealing with and around. And hey, if they showing some some not a good intentions. You get away. Pay attention to the signs. Like hey, get away from them. Get away from these wicked Edomite devils, man. But I'm gonna go from there. See, I want to go. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm saying. I'm gonna go to Psalms 37 and 40. Psalm 37:40, and the Lord Yahweh shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in Him. So the Lord Yahweh Bashan Yahushua, Yahushua is going to deliver His elect, from these, from these Edomite devils, man. Lord Yahushua knows who His elect is of the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Natives. He knows, and He gonna deliver you. If you're a part of righteous number. Hopefully I am. Lord Yahushua have mercy on me. Now I'm going forward. Like I say, we in those times, like man, things are finna intensify. It might seem like things might kind of, seem like it'll be okay. It might be peaceful, but it's not. You gotta be careful with that. When it seems like everything's okay, you better have like, wait a minute. Antennas better be you better be spiritually, you better be spiritually aware, alerted, in the spirit, like in spirit of the Lord Yahweh, Yahushua, knowing like, oh shit, wait a minute, things seem it's too quiet, it's too calm, and then boom, something like major could happen, things could get really out of hand, out of control, right? And that's the times we heading, going forward. Things ain't gonna get no better. And I say things might seem like okay, but eventually it's gonna get chaotic out here. It's gonna be a lot of people out here just losing it, going crazy, fighting. I say it's gonna get ugly out here now, But Lord Yahweh Shah is going to deliver His elect from that, preserve His elect from these wicked Edomite devils, and from the sad perils, and from the evil times that we're in now going forward. Because these ain't good times anyway. It's gonna get worse. But and like I said, the elect is gonna trust in the elect of the so-called Negro, Latino, natives. And the Israelites gonna put their full trust in the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, So, and I say the elect is not gonna give up. They're not gonna waver, in the faith. They're gonna stand firm in the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua and not give up. But I'm go from there. So I'm go to Zechariah. Excuse me, Zechariah. Zechariah 13. Let's go see. Zechariah 13:8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land saith the Lord Yahweh, two parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. So what's 2/3? 2/3 what is so 2/3 gonna be cut off. So you look at the pie chart. What's 2/3? You look at 2/3 chart. That's a lot, right? Look at the pie chart. Excuse me, a pie chart. Look at 2/3 and a 1/3. Look at that pie chart. Look it up. You're like, oh, that's a big number, right? It's gonna be a lot of so-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelites. Being they don't dying. Being destroyed, being judged by the Lord YAHAWASHI. And not gonna have mercy by the Lord YAHAWASHI in these times. But the 1/3 is gonna have mercy. 1/3. Like I said, that's not a big number. You look at the pie chart. It's it's a nice sizable number, but it's not a big compared to the pie chart. Look at it, right? Most of that pie chart, is kind of taken up by, if you look at the 2/3, right? The 2/3 number is, it's a lot. That's a lot, and I mean most of 2/3 of Israelites gonna be women. So-called Negro, Latino, Native Israelite women. Most of 2/3, 2/3 gonna be women. It's gonna be men, and and children. That number 2/3, this, Lord Yahawah, gonna bring judgment on, and 2/3 that's not gonna receive mercy in these times going forward. But like I said, most of 2/3 is gonna be women. Cause women outnumber men, and like I said, so I saying the 1/3, 100,000 gonna be the men of the Lord, the governing body, the elect. I say that the 1/3, women and children, that number and so forth. That Lord Yahshua is gonna have mercy on. But like I say, it's not as big of it's not as big of a number compared to the 2/3 number. That's gonna be a big number there of Israelites not. Lord Yahshua not gonna have mercy on. But I'm going to Zechariah 13:9. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh is my power. So hey, the 1/3 of the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Israelites gonna be brought through the fire. Going through hell, catching hell. Even in the times of Jacob's trouble, we in the beginning. We in the beginning. We in the beginning of it all. But it's going, like I said, it's going to intensify, get worse and worse, right? We already in it. But I say, the elect is gonna come out of that fire, out of the hell, because Lord Yahushua is gonna deliver the elect out of. If you are the elect number, Yahushua is gonna have mercy and deliver you out of that, out of whatever situation may be, because hey, if you making out of this, out of that, out of this, out of that, you don't see yourself getting out of it, and somehow you get out of it, it's Lord Yahushua bringing you out of it. Delivering you out of that, man. Out of whatever situation may be. But if you don't make it out of it, well, it happens, and you get caught up in that judgment. This is what it is, but just 2/3, but I say Yahushua knows his elect. He gonna hear them. Like the scripture say, he gonna hear his elect. He gonna, hey, I know who you is. I got you. He knows who his elect is. He know who's, who of that righteous number, who have that tawah, exempt from judgment. They're gonna be exempt. You know, I say Lord Yahawashi know who got that mark on him. Like, yeah, you good. I'm gonna deliver you out. I got you. Yahawashi gonna deliver his elect. If you're that number. You ain't got nothing to worry about if you're a part of the number. You make it. You been delivered. Like I say, you been delivered out of this or that. You escaping these wicked Edomite devils, what they have planned or what they try to get you, and try to get you locked up or whatever, right? But Lord Yahawashi is not gonna let that happen. Now, if you do get caught up in a concentration camp, I say this, or you did get put in a concentration, excuse me, if you get put up in a concentration camp, and I say, if that's your lot, Lord Yahawashi gonna deliver you out of it. You still gotta believe the Lord Yahawashi gonna deliver you out of that. It just gotta happen, gotta play out, right? But that necessarily don't cancel you out to being of the elect. Like if you get put in a concentration camp in the Lord Yahawashi, it just it's gotta just gotta play out, man. It's just see how how strong really your faith is, Lord Yahawashi in that moment, because I said that's how it's just how it's just a lot, you just gotta play out like that, and like I said, Lord Yahawashi show His power too, deliver you out of that situation. Like, how you get up out of it? So hey, me myself, whole feeling part righteous number, Lord Yahawashi have mercy on me. Deliver me, in these times going forward, things that get out of hand, these Edomite devils, come with those UN troops coming in, coming with the troops and try to, coming in and, kicking down doors and taking, people out of their houses and so forth, and, martial law or whatever, being declared, and so forth, man, because man, that's that's what's gonna come about, man. The prophecies of the word of the Lord, the Bible is true. It's gonna come to pass, man. But let me see. Excuse me. Go back. So that was it. So I hope this was edifying. So again, I'd like to give our praise and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahawashi Bahashem. Harakah Kadash, to the apostle elders, to the Sisakin brothers, to the few Akwaf sisters that do listen, keep the faith, and Yahawashi keep fighting with that. Say Shalom.